In the 1980s, I was working for the nonviolent organization Peace Brigades International, which brings nonviolent human rights accompaniment to places where people are at risk for doing things such as teaching that people can be empowered, for doing things such as union organizing or being student activists. These are the people who can be targeted to be disappeared or assassinated, and my job was to be present as a nonviolent witness to make it safer for them to continue to do the work that they were doing. And it was an incredible honor to be with these people. Now, there's a long story here, and I'm just telling you the short story. And the short story is that because of the work I was doing, eventually I was briefly arrested and imprisoned in El Salvador. 22 years ago now, actually. The heart of the story, though, is this. The place that I was imprisoned was a torture center. I had friends who had been tortured there. I could hear the torture happening around me and was not able to stop it, as you can imagine. And when they were ready to let me go, after about 18 hours, I refused to leave the jail. And I refused to leave the jail because I had been imprisoned with a Colombian colleague. And in a world of hierarchy, of patriarchy, of unjust valuing of some over others for a variety of reasons, my life was more valuable to the Salvadoran structures than hers. And so I refused to leave the jail. Instead, I was re-imprisoned with her until, because of the additional pressure, we were both released. But before we were released, the most astonishing thing happened. You see, the refusal had confused the guards. And you can imagine that they're fairly used to people not wanting to come to the jail, but not wanting to leave the jail was... and so they were full of, do you want us, do you miss us, with all the sexual innuendo of rape that includes, right? And I didn't know what to say, but I kind of blurted out, blindfolded, handcuffed, blurted out, of course I don't want to be here, but you men are soldiers, and you know that if a comrade is fallen, you don't walk away. And I'm not walking away from my colleague, not now. And they got silent. And then in the silence, there was this very small voice of one of the men saying, yeah, we understand. And he took me very gently out to the hall, and we were left standing in the hall. Eventually they brought her over, took off our handcuffs so we could hang on. And from then till we got released, and I'm under no illusions that I had privileged treatment. Of course I did, right? And yet, even still, the possibility that there can be this kind of shift in a torture center among torturers, and they kept coming to see us. We'd hear them. Couldn't see anything, but we could hear them, and they would say things like, where are the two inseparable ones? Well, where are the two I heard about? And there was this kind of respect for love, for friendship, for connection. And I learned profoundly, incarnately, the power that connection has, even in places of impossibility. So I carry that with me. And I carry that in this world that we have right now, which is a world of so much disconnection, right? Disconnection from our LGBT colleagues and students, a disconnection from each other, disconnection in so many ways. And you all know those teachers that are disconnected. I remember a grade 3 teacher, I still remember it here, who ridiculed me by calling me a bookworm. Can you imagine using that as an insult to a grade 3 student? You bookworm, you! Right? But I remember that here. But it's not just that. You all know the colleagues in the faculty lounge that make the comments about, oh, those students are always trying to, or oh, this kind of binary us, them, bat and the hatches, right? They're out to get us, those students out there. Right? Those students out there without whom I wouldn't have a job, right? So we know those disconnected teachers. I want you just for a moment to think about the connected teachers. Those amazing people in your lives that have been the best of teaching? And just for a moment, turn to the person next to you. If you're in a table group of 5, you could be 2s and 3s or 3s and 3s. But just for a moment, name those teachers to each other and what made them great.